Good afternoon, everyone. I'm 𝗺𝗵𝗃 𝗴𝗄𝗃, the Program Manager for the Digital Channel at USB Executive Development, and I will be your host for today. We are super excited to welcome each and every one of you to today's launch of the Future Managers Development Program. If you ask me, 10 years ago, I was pretty apprehensive about my professional stance at the workplace. It came with a lot of challenges, loads of experience, and quite a lot of growing up to get to where I am today. I really wish I had the opportunity to bridge the gap between immaturely inexperienced and leading myself better and more confidently at the workplace. This afternoon, we will take you through a journey of why this program is so beneficial to your organization. Please note that there will be a Q&A at the end, but you're more than welcome to pop a question in the chat during the webinar. For today's launch, we have an exciting agenda lined up with some insightful speakers. After I hand you over to Dr. Johan, we will have Michelle Wolfswinkel, which will take you through the insights from talent managers in 5 companies that are top South African brands. Then proceeding to Janine Tritter, who will give you her opinion of the need for this program. Then going back to Michelle, which will give you the overview of the program. Then following the faculty that you will meet that will be part of the program. Then the lessons learned from the program done by Ms. Erica Botha, and we will close off with questions and answers at the end. Kindly note, my email address is listed at the bottom. So if you have any further questions or interest in the program, please email me. Chanel will be dropping the program brochure that will be posted in the chat below. I will now hand you over to my direct manager, Dr. Johan Swanepoel, who is the director of this digital channel, with an official welcome. Over to you, Johan.
Thank you, 𝗺𝗵𝗃. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for making time to join us for this session. We are extremely excited about our new graduate development program, and having you with us today as people who work with graduates on a daily basis is a huge privilege. Thank you for your time. Perhaps I should start off by just providing a bit of context about where we fit into the bigger picture. As you are aware, probably USB Ed is the executive development company of Stellenbosch University Business School. This means that all our courses and our programs are fully accredited by the university in terms of the relevant SAQA and CHE requirements. It also means that students who successfully complete our courses or our programs receive their certificates from Stellenbosch University. So it's not USB Ed certificates. The certificates are actually issued by the university. It further means that our programs or our courses meet all the criteria in terms of the skills development legislation and the claiming back of skills development levies, obviously subject to the requirements of the various SETAs, and if I may say, which sometimes can be a bit tedious. Personally, I head up the channel for digital learning at USB Ed. The main differentiating factor between us and the other channels within USB Ed is that our courses are carefully designed to be offered in an asynchronous mode. This has the following benefits for you as employers, as well as for your employees, in other words, the participants. Usually there's a cost benefit due to the economies of scale. Also, studying online eliminates travel, accommodation, and venue costs, which we can then, those savings we can pass on to you as our clients. Studying online also minimizes the out-of-office time for participants to the bare minimum. Furthermore, participants can engage with the material at a time convenient to them. And this is absolutely in line with adult learning principles. Some people prefer to sit down and work through a lot of material at one time. Other people simply can't afford to do so, and they have to engage with the material in bite-sized chunks. And studying online absolutely allows for all of that. But lastly, and in the case of this program, very importantly, the online mode of delivery is perfectly aligned with the preferred way of digesting knowledge of the current generation of graduates. After all, These are the YouTube, the Instagram, and the Reddit followers. So studying online to them is a way of thinking. And while I am on the topic of the current generation, I like to call them the lost in transition generation. And the reason why I say this is the following. They often come from environments that did not provide them with the background needed to success in a professional environment. In many cases, in fact, they are the first person within extended families who even managed to obtain a degree. Then we all know they graduate from universities that focus heavily on discipline-related knowledge, and very little time is spent by the universities on preparing them for a professional environment. And then, sadly, they walk into workplaces nowadays that have to deal with major challenges to stay relevant in the current challenging environment. So we know that you as employers invest a lot of time and effort in your graduates. But we also know, we are acutely aware of the fact that there hasn't been a lot of formal support for you. And we know that there are a lot of behind-the-scenes initiatives being implemented by employers to support their graduates. And then in the middle of this, and often on the fringe of all of this, is or are the graduates, which are our future employers. So we believe that our program will change this. We put the graduates in the center of the learning process. We talk to them about what they need. We believe that this program will help them to adjust better to the workplace environment. It will help them to be more productive in a shorter period of time. And we believe that it will help to set them up for a successful career. And all of this eventually will contribute to you obtaining a much better return on your investment in your own young talent. But enough said, let me not ramble on. Once again, thank you for your support today. I trust that we will provide you with something that you can take with you, and I have no doubt that we will also learn something from you. So once again, thank you for joining us. With that, over to you, 𝗙𝗂𝗃.
Thank you so much, Johan. I'll now be handing you over to my colleague, 𝗙𝗂𝗃𝗂𝗁𝗃, who is the digital learning and instructional designer that has skillfully designed this amazing program. She will be taking you through the insights of talent managers in 5 companies of South Africa's top brands and why this program is so pertinent for industries. Over to you, Mish.
Thanks, 𝗙𝗃𝗃. I'm delighted to share some of my research with you today, and I'll disclose to you that this research was the original thought or the seed that planted the need for the Future Managers Development Program. I was fortunate enough to do an exploratory qualitative study using semi-structured interviews with experts. Now, these were not just any experts. We're talking 3 strategic level managers for talent, brand, and line, and in 5 companies that are top South African brands. Now, whilst confidentiality does not permit me to disclose the names of the company, I can tell you that it is the largest brand in South Africa and the biggest telecommunications brand, the biggest medical aid and medical insurance brand in the country, one of the top 3 banks in the country, the oldest and largest insurance provider, and the most coveted and loved motor vehicle brand in South Africa. The study led to the publication of 2 articles, journal articles, which will be posted in the chat today. I can't go into all of the details of the study, but it's such interesting insights. And if you're a talent manager with us today, you'll find the insights that I gained from these talent managers so insightful in terms of deciding how to attract and retain this new generation of talent. 𝗙𝗃𝗃 will be popping these links to these articles in the chat as we speak. What was particularly interesting from the study and the themes that came out of it looked a bit like this. It looks very complex, but I landed on 5 themes and 10 leading practices for talent attraction and retention in South Africa. Now, those 5 themes, I want to point you to the second theme, which is about this aspirational aspect of talent. Theme 2 talks about these top brands articulating their talent requirements very, very carefully, then assessing talent rigorously, even the graduates, and having this almost aspirational element of top talent wants to work for top brands because they offer what it is the talent wants, basically. I also want to draw your attention to theme 5, particularly relevant to this presentation. In theme 5, we found that South African talent wants to have meaningful work, and they want to be developed in terms of their personal skills so that they can make a difference and a contribution. The engagement of top talent by these top brands is facilitated by providing them with meaningful work and the opportunity to learn on the job and to contribute to the greater good of the organization. I want to share some quotes with you from strategic level talent managers, super illuminating quotes, and it's going to be a lot of text coming across the screen, but I just want to lift out one or two interesting points here. This from the talent manager of the largest motor vehicle brand in South Africa. He said, our people, or employees of people in the organization, are the biggest investment you'll make. And he talks about a 43-year investment. He says that if you have to spend 5,000 Rand on psychometric assessments or 50,000 Rand on an onboarding, they don't think that that's a high investment to make for the return they're going to be getting. A second leader, the second quote is also from the top motor vehicle brand, who speaks about this process they go through while they're being onboarded in the organization. Apparently, they go through this whole work rotation process where they feel the vehicle, they touch the car, they serve the customer, etc. And what was really interesting is he said they must understand who they are in the organization as a whole and how they fit into the organization. A final quote this is from the largest medical aid and health brand in South Africa. If you join our graduate program, say in 2019, they said, before the end of 2019, you will have had coffee with our CEO and our directors at least 4 times that year. This is the level of investment that these brands are making in their young graduates and their talent. They need exposure, in bold there at the bottom. They need exposure to the business, the leaders, the working world. They need mentors and guidance. They need active interest, focus on their career development. So those are just some of the quotes that came out from the study, and I think the original need for the study and a lot of the background information I wrote about the study, I pulled out of this quote, which comes from the largest cell phone company in South Africa and also South Africa's top brands. They talk about they've already invested, what, 500,000 in these talented employees when they walk in the door. Despite, in the second paragraph, despite their degrees and their obvious potential, they are green. We spend easily 200,000 Rand in total on orientation. I'm not talking about the normal company induction. We send them on courses and workshops so they can understand business, how to lead themselves and how to communicate professionally. This talent manager goes on to say that this generation of young graduates operate slightly differently because of their connectivity to social media, and they need to learn how to operate in the workplace. I've seen so many talented graduates, last paragraph, up and coming hypos and managers just crash and burn because they don't hold the bigger picture of being an employee, being a leader, being a performer in the corporate world, being mindful of themselves and their way of working. Such great insights from these top talent managers, and really provided a solid academic base for the need of this program as well. We're also very honored to bring in the voice of yet another experienced talent manager. Janine Tritter is currently a USB Ed faculty and heads up our graduate programs. She's the former head of talent for 𝗺𝗵𝗃𝗄𝗃 𝗄𝗃𝗃. And as we all know, those that are in the know, 𝗺𝗵𝗃𝗄𝗃 𝗄𝗃𝗃 runs quite an advanced graduate and internship program. Janine's unfortunately unable to be with us today, but I caught up with her last week and I asked her to share some thoughts on the program I've posted it to a little YouTube video, and 𝗺RISHA will be popping the link to that video in the chat for us. But let's have a look at the video. If you on the YouTube channel, here goes. I hope this is the right video. My bad. This was always going to happen when you're crossing between presentations. I'm going to stop sharing and just try and share my video again. All the talent in the world can't prepare you for the challenges of hopping between screens. Here we go.
So I've worked with a range of talents and graduates and hypers. What I've seen is a lot of bright and talented young individuals entering the corporate space. And the challenge, in my opinion, has always been threefold. Their level of self-knowledge and awareness has been a bit of a challenge when they're coming in young and fresh into the organization, and also how they impact other people. So understanding how they impact people in their engagements, in the team dynamics, but also the understanding of the business as a whole and how it works. So kind of a corporate savvy that I was often missing in the young graduates. Corporates often set their young leaders up for failure because of how our systems work. We reward people through titles and levels, so they move up the ranks, but they may be incredible specialists, but we don't have a remuneration system or a recognition system that supports them. So now we often don't necessarily assess appropriately, so we move someone up that's highly talented, they're bright and they're amazing in their specialization, but we move them into a managerial role. And then they fail horribly, firstly because maybe they're not passionate about managing, but they're passionate about their discipline and their specialization. We don't serve them in a way where we develop these competencies around leadership. We also don't tell them what to expect necessarily. We move them into this role and we expect that they maybe observed a few leaders. So they don't have a best practice basis or standard that they work from. They work from what they've seen or what they think works, or they use their own initiative around certain things, which isn't yet matured in the leadership space. And I do believe leaders are shaped and formed. So we have to invest in these leaders. I believe, in order to thrive in this new world of work, or this VUCA or Barney world, which it's called now, we need to really understand ourselves and our impact alongside our technical and business knowledge. And what really resonates with me about the Future Managers Development Program is the critical piece around self-awareness and identity. Because how you are is how you show up at work. It's also how you show up as a leader. And I believe this systemic approach in this program will also address the individual young leader or inexperienced leader as a whole being, which is really critical as a leader. You can't do different parts. I mean, you have to show up as your whole self.
Lovely insights from Janine Twitter, and we thank her for being available to us. Oops. That would be my YouTube is doing its own thing. Okay. All right, some musical stimulation and we're back to the slideshow. We're also very honored to have Melissa Mills with us in the room today, and hopefully there'll be less disruptions because we won't be crossing to a video of Melissa. Melissa is the Talent Acquisition Manager for L'Oréal South Africa, and we also asked her to share her opinion, much like Janine's. Melissa, won't you tell us what you think and what insights you can share with us from L'Oréal, and how you find this program in relation to what you've been doing at L'Oréal?
Sure. So good afternoon, everyone. So again, I've also worked with a lot of youth, a lot of young people coming into the organization across industries, but specifically for L'Oréal, what I've seen is that you've got these students that are green, as you've mentioned, they are very green coming into the organization. And what we forget is that they've been in school all their life, and they have to be in school at a certain time for a certain period. They leave school and then they go to university and they have all this freedom. And they leave university and then they come to a working environment, and then it's also rules and
Melissa, sorry, you muted yourself. Sorry, Melissa, you muted yourself.
There we go.
Sorry. So they come in, am I back? So they leave school and then they go to university where they have all the freedom to do what they want when they want. And yes, they have school and assignments, but then they come into the working environment where there's rules again, and they have to be there for a certain amount of time. And I mean, I've even had a student ask me, do I have to do this every day for 7 days or 5 days a week? And yes, you have to. So they're very green. So for me, management of self speaks so much to what they need. I think it's an amazing program. I've looked at the modules. I think it's going to guide them in terms of what is expected in the working environment. And it's only the beginning. You know, we learn through doing, and we learn over the years, and we've all been in the corporate for many years. These are students that are entering into our business. And at L'Oréal, we pride ourselves to develop youth. One of our KPIs is called L'Oréal for Youth, and that's making sure that anybody between the ages of 18 and 30 is actually developed. So we are aware of the unemployment rate of the country, and we want to work towards bringing those people into L'Oréal. And some of the things that we do is the internship. We do management trainees where we have them here for a year, and we also do winter schools. So we have various intakes of youth, and I do believe that this course is going to help them, especially for our management training program, as well as our internship program that we're starting this year that will run for 18 months. So I am very excited about this program. Thank you.
Melissa, thanks so much for joining us and for sharing your thoughts with us. We were very honored. I mean, an extra talent manager and L'Oréal South Africa talent manager, thank you so much for sharing your opinion with us. I'd like to give you a quick overview of the program. And when I say quick, I'm talking quick, and without any YouTube videos playing in between. You have a brochure in the chat, so you would be able to follow along with this overview. The Future Managers Development Program consists of 5 modules in total, and it runs over a total of 20 weeks as per here in the top corner. It's roughly 4 weeks a module, but we allow time for assignments, etc. We're looking at something called 5 to 7 notional learning hours per week. That's what we think people will spend online. And although the program is fully online and asynchronous, as Dr. 𝗠𝗏𝗏 pointed out, we have synchronous bi-weekly webinars, much like this, where our students or our participants can connect and really get some peer learning and engagement going. The first 2 modules deal with self-leadership, one of the points mentioned by Janine Twitter, where we look at self-leadership principles and practices, personal mastery and resilience. The business environment goes into the hardcore understanding of who you are in this business environment, the macro, micro, and today's world of work. Our third module looks at communication, and this really is about communicating in real time in a way that has an impact on others and in a way that follows the proper communication channels. Management and leadership deals with an introduction to management and leadership. It also looks at followership, which is something that's so underestimated and isn't addressed nearly enough at this level. Our final module looks at career management, helping participants to plan and plot out their career. If you need any further information about this course and the modules, I've run through it really quickly, please have a look at the brochure and don't hesitate to also mail Tharisha or myself if you need more info. Just as a closing, I want to point out these 2 icons represent 2 important parts of the program. The first, with the puzzle pieces, is the role of our online learning process facilitator, who is a facilitator that runs with them during the 20 weeks, helps them to integrate, put all the bits together and make sense of it as a whole, so that they build towards the second icon, which is that ultimate mountain with flag on top. They build towards this final integrated workplace assignment, which helps them to apply everything they've learned to the workplace. I'm going to hand back to Tharisha so you can meet your faculty. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle and team. We are so honored to have USB Ed and Stellenbosch University faculty behind the Future Managers Development Program with us today. Welcome to 𝗙𝗂𝗿𝗄, Joshua Fulmore, and 𝗙𝗂𝗿𝗄𝗏. I would love for the faculty members to introduce themselves very briefly and perhaps just answer a quick question whilst they are at it. What excites you about this program? Why did you get involved? And, or maybe, what excites you about your specific module and what it brings to the program? Let's start off with you, 𝗙𝗂𝗿𝗄, then we move on to Joshua, and then finally to 𝗙𝗂𝗶.
Thank you so much, 𝗺risa, and I'm really excited to be here today and to share this launch with you all. So for starters, I've spent the past 15 years or so developing managers and leaders at all levels of the organization and across various industries. And over the years, there's one thing that I became completely convinced of, and that is that everything starts with self-leadership. If you cannot lead yourself effectively, you simply cannot lead others. So that's a firm belief that I've developed over the years. And in developing the self-leadership as well as the career management module, I was very excited because it feeds directly into my life mission, which is to educate, inspire, and guide. And whilst I was developing these modules, I just realized that, I have to add a measure of humility to this. And so even though I've distilled, 15 years worth of experience, knowledge, research, I still want to add a bit of humility to it because I firmly believe that there are no formulas when it comes to self-leadership and career management. But I do believe that there are principles that each of us can apply in our individual way. Thanks so much, 𝗺risa.
Thank you so much, 𝗙𝗂𝗿𝗄𝗏. Over to you, Josh.
Thanks, 𝗺risa. Hi, everyone. My name is Joshua Fulmore, and I'm the faculty behind the Business Environment module. I've always been passionate about business and the role that it plays in shaping the future of our country, and tried my hand at this with a few different businesses to date. What really excites me about this program is its ability to shape the future of our country. What I mean by this is that the program has the ability to equip up-and-coming talent within a wide range of very, very powerful organizations with both the skills and the mindset to lead effectively and ultimately bring about long-lasting change. What I really like about the program is its target market. We're obviously focused on getting young and inspired individuals, which can be upskilled and groomed according to the organization's needs. And these individuals have plenty of years ahead of them to actually go out and act on the things that they'll be learning throughout the program. When it comes to the business environment module itself, it's been really fulfilling creating this section of the program, and I truly believe in the value which understanding this information will create for the various individuals that are enrolled, and I believe it will ensure that they actually thrive as individuals within their organization and understand how to contribute to the team as well as the organization's overall success. I believe the program is really going to enable thousands of individuals to better understand and access the range of different opportunities which exist in our country. And it's really been an honor to take part of it, and I'm excited for the launch.
Thank you, Josh. Over to you, 𝗙𝗂𝗶.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is 𝗙𝗂𝗿𝗄𝗏. I'll be leading the communication module. I'm quite excited to be part of the program. In particular, when I was designing the program, I think the timing was quite ideal, given that we are dealing with virtual work, remote work, and those are critical elements in terms of how communication is now being managed in the workplace. So what we cover broadly is around, the whole virtual remote communications. We include issues around 𝗵𝗵𝗴𝗄, directing young people to organizational policies and procedures in terms of how they deal with social media and how they position themselves in the communication landscape. Further to that, we do touch on traditional channels, but spend a lot of time on sort of digital and remote channels. And I think also the whole broader conversations around stakeholders is quite critical in the module in terms of how you communicate with your boss, how you communicate with your colleagues, also the diversity of organizations currently. You know, now we've got colleagues in different time zones. We've got cultural diversity in the workplace. So I think part of my design was really to infuse lessons around that and also around project management as a field. And I guess towards the end, we touch a lot on tips. We touch a lot on self-awareness, how to really introspect in terms of their communication styles and how they can then have a roadmap in terms of how they really grow their communication skills. So I think for me, it was exciting to be part of this. Like I said, the timing was correct in terms of, you know, the whole COVID, remote, virtual. So it's really how do we blend all of those communication in terms of traditionally how it was done and how then we also link to, you know, feedback in this era and expectations in this era, things like omni-channel communication with customers, the whole voice of the customer. So it was all embracing, although it's not a fully fledged, you know, teaching you to be a professional, but really to understand the fundamentals in the world of work today. Thank you, Tarisha.
Thank you so much, 𝗙𝗂. That was indeed very insightful. You would have noticed that Professor Mies is unfortunately not here today. It's in fact his birthday, and I thought he'd be out celebrating, but he's in fact a full day strategy session instead. Pretty committed, if you ask me. If I could perhaps just tell you a little bit more about Professor Mies. He's a USP professor in leadership and has an impressive research and consultation CV. But the reason we are excited for Professor Mies to be part of this program lies in the fact that he has a wealth of experience and a natural sort of mentor personality. Participants on his USB and USB Ed courses absolutely love him. They want to listen to him and want to learn from him. So we are very honored to have his academic stature part of the FMDP. I'd like to hand you over to Ms. 𝗙𝗂𝗿𝗄 𝗿𝗀 for the main attraction of this webinar. 𝗙𝗂𝗿𝗄, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tarisha. And I'm just going to do a very, very brief lesson. I would like to call it a micro lesson. And just to give an idea how this lesson fits into the rest of the program. It's from the first module, leadership, self-leadership. It's from the second week, personal mastery and resilience, that very important topic, specifically zooming in to the resilience part of the program. And Tarisha will be so kind as to put some links in the chat for us in terms of the articles. First off, I would just like to briefly show you a snapshot of what the self-leadership module, and that's just that excerpt shown of what the online Moodle online platform, the USB Ed platform, looks like. So just to give you an idea, just quickly, maybe just quickly, briefly look at it. And yeah, let's get started. You know, I don't know if you would agree with me, but most probably, especially if you've got quite a bit of experience in your working life, you will know that across along the way, we come across some blind spots, things that we weren't aware of. And some of these blind spots can actually derail us in our career. One of these blind spots could be knowing what triggers an emotional hijack or an amygdala hijack. Now, what is that? Just very briefly, an emotional hijack is when there is a real or a perceived threat that triggers my fight, flight, or freeze response. So it could be something as simple as somebody cutting off on the highway. This threat response is being triggered, and out of the blue, I lose my temper, and I just think like, what happened? Who was that? So I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but I can tell you it certainly has happened to me. Thank you, 𝗺𝗃𝗃. So wouldn't it be nice if we can be all zen and calm in stressful situations? So I want you to imagine some of the stressful situations that you have experienced maybe in the recent past. It could be just that irritating colleague at work that won't leave you alone. It could be a family member that brings out the worst in you. It could be a demanding boss. But here I want to challenge you today and say that all these stressful situations is due to one thing, and that is called rumination. Now, what is rumination? Okay, so the best way to explain rumination is to think about a cow. So what does a cow do? A cow eats grass, chews the grass, swallows it, regurgitates it, chews the grass again, then swallows it again, then regurgitates it, and on and on and on this process goes. I mean, you get the picture. So that's exactly what we do if we obsess and think about something again and again and again. That's called rumination. So rumination is when I focus on the past, but I'm regretting the past. I'm looking back at the past and I'm thinking, if only I didn't say this, or if only I didn't say that. Or I look to the future with anxiety and I'm stressed out and I'm wondering, are they going to hate the presentation? What if they hate the presentation? What if I don't get the promotion, etc., etc. So as you can see, rumination is something that's negative. What we need to do is to reskill ourselves to move towards reflection. Now, reflection is something that's very positive. That's when we're in a positive state of mind and we're reviewing the past and we're quite objectively and positively planning for the future. And that is the main difference between reflection and rumination. The one is negative and it's unproductive. And the other one is positive and, of course, is productive. So stress and pressure, what is the difference? So Dr. Rogers, who has spent about 30 years studying stress and resilience, has pointed out that pressure is something that's external. It's external to us. It's in the environment. And stress is something that completely happens within us. So that's quite interesting. And if we can just understand what the difference is between stress and pressure. Stress happens externally and, pressure happens externally and it's a healthy thing. Stress is something that we create. We create our own stress within ourselves. So people who ruminate a lot, in other words, overthink things a lot, have chronically elevated levels of the hormones adrenaline and cortisol, which is the stress hormone. And it means that they are constantly on edge and they are very stressed out. People who do not ruminate or overthink things have plenty of pressure in their lives, but they aren't stressed out by it. So maybe I can just go into a little bit more depth on the difference between reflection and rumination by just illustrating that with a very recent example in my own life. So a few days ago, I lost my temper, okay? So not my proudest moment, and I'm not going to go into the reasons why, but all I can tell you is it wasn't pretty, okay? But what is of interest for us here today is what happened a few hours after. I started to feel guilty. The thoughts that were running through my mind was, how could you? You're supposed to be an example. Are you a bad person? And on these thoughts went. I had to be honest and stop myself and say, Erica, are you ruminating right now or are you reflecting? And I had to be honest and say I was ruminating. So just by recognizing that, I could gradually move myself to reflection. Now, positively reflecting means answering questions such as, what can I do differently next time? What can I learn from this? is there another way to view the situation? So you can see that positive objectivity that's involved here. So I was able to get myself into that state of mind. And if I didn't, I know that I would have spiraled out of control and I would have just been miserable myself and made everybody around me miserable. So really understanding the difference between stress and pressure and between rumination and reflection has changed my life, because I've got a more positive way to deal with stress, you know, things that previously stressed me out. Continuing then on the course itself, I'm not going to go into too much detail because we haven't got much time left. Here's the 4 steps to building resilience. So those are the positive steps that I can then take to reduce stress or react to stress in a more healthier way in my life, and also to build resilience. And the first way is just to wake up and stay awake, the ability to control my attention or to focus, and then thirdly, detaching, and that means that objectivity. I need to learn that objectivity to reframe the situation. And then lastly, having that ability to let go. And letting go, I think the best example of that is Mr. Nelson Mandela, who, when he was asked why he wasn't angrier at having been in prison for almost half his life, he said, "If I thought it would be useful, I would be." So I think that's a great example of letting go. So that's it, ladies and gents. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I want to leave you with a powerful quote of Dorothy Rowe. Life is not so much about what happens to us, but how we react to what happens to us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Erica. That was very insightful. Ladies and gents, we have come to the end of our launch. We have a few minutes for any questions about the program itself. Please post any questions in the chat if you have. And if we are unable to answer your questions in this short Q&A session, we will follow up with you one-on-one afterwards. Just a reminder that my email address is 𝗺𝗂𝗄𝗄𝗃@usbed.com if you have any further questions. Also, just a reminder that this webinar has been recorded and will be uploaded onto social media, and we will be emailing you a link hereafter. Okay, I cannot see any questions in the chat currently.
𝗺𝗃𝗃, while we wait for questions in the chat, I would like to ask Melissa a question, if I may.
Sure.
Melissa, just out of curiosity, how do the challenges that the South African graduates experience, do you have an idea how that compares with challenges in other countries? Are the challenges universal, or is there something that's specifically unique to South Africa that one should pay attention to? Perhaps you can share that with us.
I think, Johan, a lot of external factors affect our students specifically. Example, our transport fails us. We don't have a great transport system in South Africa, whereas in Europe, anybody can hop onto a tram, a train, and they can get anywhere. So that in itself affects our students. The second thing is, the unemployment rate of South Africa is extremely high. We're sitting at 35.3% at the moment, which means a lot of our students' parents are unemployed, which again affects income. So even if they wanted to get into an Uber, again, our students are affected, so that is really a challenge. The other thing with unemployment is that what is considered a basic tool in the States, for instance, a laptop, an iPad, some of our students don't have access to that. So those are major challenges, and not necessarily in the workplace, but it affects them getting to work. It affects them getting back home. Sometimes we have external meetings. Sometimes we have long hours, but we have to take into consideration that transport is only available until a certain time. Some of them don't have Wi-Fi at home, so they can't work at home. So it's real life challenges that our students face. And I think as an organization or companies, that we have to be mindful of that as well.
Thank you. Thanks. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I can relate virtually to everything that you've mentioned now. Thanks. And then Melissa, while I'm hogging the platform, there was a question, is the program only for young people? No, most definitely not. I think the differentiating factor would be the management level of the person. It's not necessarily only limited to young people, but the program is aimed sort of to new entrants into the market, and specifically to those who haven't been exposed to management or leadership development before. Some of the elements that we cover in this program at a certain level, granted, probably would have been covered in other management or executive development programs, and we're trying not to replicate. This program is also different to our new managers program that we offer within USB8, where the new managers program is aimed at people who have just been promoted to management positions but who don't have the experience. This program is aimed at people who are not on the management level yet. So there are slight differentiating factors that we just need to keep in mind.
Thank you so much, Johan, and for the question. I just want to highlight that the public intake program starts the 17th of May, but we are more than welcome to have any customizable program for any organization. Just looking at other questions in the chat, what are the requirements to be admitted onto this program? Is it for South African graduates only? No, not at all. Johan? Anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, Michelle, perhaps would you like to respond to that as being the designer behind the program?
Of course. The admission requirements is a matric. We don't presume that you would only be able to access it as a graduate. A high potential person could be somebody in a call center, coming up in a call center for that matter. I think you would have to have a very good understanding of the English language, some strong computer skills, definitely a matric, and the support of your organization in terms of going on a 20-week journey. In terms of, we do recognition for prior learning for older candidates who are circling back and want to go on to the management fast track as well.
Thanks, Mesh.
Thank you. Thanks, Michelle. Tharisha, sorry, could I just add to your response to the customization? I see 𝗙𝗂𝗂𝗄 has specifically asked about that. 𝗙𝗂𝗂𝗄, yeah, no, as Tharisha has said, the program can be customized. It can be customized in two ways. The one is we could look at the content and we could add or change content to align it with whatever the internal in-house development programs within the company entail. Or alternatively, we can also customize the duration of the program within limits, of course, but we can do it in such a way that it synchronizes with your annual intake, for instance, of your graduates. So we would like to engage with you on that.
Johan, I see a few questions that are posted, but I think that we have time for just one more, if that's okay, and then we'll get back to the rest on a one-on-one basis. Sandy wants to know, are there any funding opportunities for it, and what is the cost of this program? The cost of this program is 22,425 Rand for the public intake, inclusive of VAT. Yeah, and if it's individually sort of funded, you can go through Capitec, which actually provides you with a good loan, and then you can have an arrangement to pay them on a term basis.
Yeah, that's correct. We have the funding agreement with Capitec, and they would be willing to fund the program. Should it be funded by the individuals themselves? Absolutely correct.
All right, thank you so much, everybody. For those that have posed questions, we'll follow up with you on a one-on-one basis. Thank you so much for all the time that you have put into this presentation to my colleagues and for the other participants that have joined this presentation as well. Thank you so much for attending. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.